So a hashtag, something that make your brain hurt, something that you think, oh my God, I know I need to use them, but I just don't get them. Well, if your answer to those questions is yes, then episode 147 is definitely for you. Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Why, hey there. Welcome to episode 147 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I really do appreciate you making me one of them. And if hashtags do your head in, then this is definitely the episode you need to go and get a cuppa for and sit and with a pen and paper and have a bit of a listen. I am, of course, the host, Jen Donovan, and I'm really happy to have you here to talk hashtags with me today. And it's really my job via this podcast and social media and just about everywhere else that I hang out to make your business life simpler. This week, unlike other weeks, or maybe just like other weeks is probably what I need to say, I have been having many conversations with small business owners, both my private clients and also just on webinars that I've been doing or speaking opportunities. And we've been talking a lot about hashtags. I kind of mention hashtags as a bit of a flyaway comment, and then up it comes in the questions like, can you tell me more about hashtags? I don't get hashtags. Why am I supposed to use hashtags? So I've thought to myself, you know what? I really need to do a podcast episode all around hashtags, how to use them, where to use them, how to freaking many we need to use, and actually, what are they all about? How can they help you grow your presence on social media and get noticed by the right people, aka your buyers, at the right time? Oh, and of course, which platforms should we be using them on and how many should we be using? Does any of this sound familiar for you? I'm really hoping and guessing so. If none of this sounds familiar with you, then perhaps you should skip over this episode because we are going to dive deep into hashtags. But of course, if you're just thinking, yep, Jen, tell me more, then buckle up and listen in because they are the exact questions I'm going to attempt to answer today. So firstly, let's go back right to the start. What actually is a hashtag all about and what are they for? It's a super big question. But if you think of hashtags as a way of cross-referencing content, sharing content of a particular topic or theme. In a nutshell, hashtags make content discoverable on in-platform searches. So you can, in theory, reach more people. So in platform searches, I mean in Facebook, you would use them to be discoverable. In Instagram, you would use them to be discoverable. So small business, or say hashtag small business, therefore, in theory, gather all the posts about small businesses in one spot. I say in theory because there's no hashtag police saying you can't use hashtag small business of your photo, like when you're putting a photo up, perhaps of your dog doing some tricks, for instance. So you can just use it. So in theory, it should be all about small businesses. But, you know, I guess you probably wouldn't use that. So in theory, it's all supposed to be the hashtag small business is supposed to be all about small businesses. But you may find random stuff on there as well because, like I said, there's nobody policing saying you can't use it. Of course, if your business is training dogs, then of course you might use small business or hashtag small business. From a business point of view, we actually use hashtags to boost our social reach and our engagement. We use them as an attraction strategy to try and attract people who are interested in that subject that you're posting about, and therefore they might follow or search using that hashtag and find you, love you, and buy from you. Or, of course, we use them as nurture as well. And I guess if you are nurturing those already in your world with amazing content, some strategic content could be used so that they actually know what there is to buy and, of course, come and buy again. So hashtags can help in the nurture sequences as well. So how many should you use on different platforms? Let's go to that question next. So let's run through them. Twitter, 1 to 2 hashtags. It doesn't matter if you use them at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of your tweet. When it comes to Twitter, you just use 1 to 2. You can also use them in comments and in your bio and when you are retweeting something as well. With only probably 1 to 2 of them, you need to maybe think about the trending hashtags. Twitter is so busy. It's like, a freeway with a million lanes. It's just so busy to get traction. So therefore, often people will make sure they're using trending hashtags so that they can actually come up in other people's searches and other people's feeds as well. So think trending hashtags when you're looking at Twitter. Okay, Facebook, how many should you be using? 2 to 5 hashtags, and you can use them anywhere. You can use them in comments or you can use them in the posts as well. But remember what you're using them for. You are using them to group together content or to have your content shown in a group of other content. Some of them that you're using, so in the 2 to 5, probably should be all about you and your business to keep your content together as well. So you might use in the 2 to 5, you might always use your business name. So if anyone is, searching your business name, then collectively that group of content is going to come up. On Facebook, people will use hashtags to search for things, to see a feed of Facebook posts that uses a particular hashtag, or of course search in private Facebook groups as well for a particular hashtag that might be used in a private Facebook group, such as, hashtag goals or hashtag promo or something like that. So people are using them in that circumstances as well. All right, who's next? LinkedIn, 2 to 5 hashtags. Again, thinking about what content you want to have grouped together, or what content you want what groups you want your content to be associated with, and also thinking about your own branding. 2 to 5 on LinkedIn, a little bit similar to Facebook. YouTube, 2 to 3. Now, caveat here, this is what I'm told. I say that because I'm not a YouTube expert, but those in my world who are YouTube experts tell me that 2 to 3 is optimal in YouTube. Pinterest, 2 to 5. And the big one, the one that gets everybody turned inside out, upside down and round the corner is, of course, Instagram. Instagram, how many should you use? 30? Look, there are so many people with so many opinions on how many to use, and I'm sure that people might be listening to this podcast and yelling at me going, no way, not 30. Such and such said to use blah, blah, blah. So you do you, but my advice, they give you 30, so use 30. And this is my logic. How many times when it comes to the big social media companies are we given a tool they don't want us to use? Never, right? Exactly. So they've given us 30, so why wouldn't we use 30? They are telling us, like they tell us with all the other tools, like, they bring out things like Reels. We use them because we know that they're telling us if you use Reels, we will help you with the algorithm. You can use 30, so why wouldn't you use 30? Use 10. If you use 10, you have 10 chances of being found. Use 15, you have 15 chances, and so on and so forth. So use all 30. You have 30 chances of coming up in someone's feed who might need exactly what it is that you sell. And you might be their new best friend because they are like, oh my God, I'm so glad I found you. So what if, you're only using 20 and you're not using that hashtag that is helping someone find you? But, and there's always but, because it's marketing after all. Don't use 30 for the sake of it. If you can only think of 20 or 12 or 19, then do that. This isn't a spray and pray approach. Well, it is a tiny bit of a spray and pray approach, but it shouldn't necessarily be a huge spray and pray approach. So, if you can't think of 30, then don't use 30 just because some crazy lady on a podcast told you should. But honestly, if you're not using at least 10 hashtags, in my opinion, you're just not playing the Instagram game the right way. My 2 biggest tips when it comes to hashtags on Instagram is 1, follow the ones you use the most and you want to be found for the most. Click the follow button, go to the hashtag, click follow. Keep an eye on what's trending. Who's trending in these particular hashtags that you want to be found the most for? If you want as a marketer, and if you're in business, you're in the business of marketing, you will start to see trends and things that can really help you with your own hashtag strategy. And my second biggest tip is these 10, 20, 30, or 30 hashtags that you are using, they're a liquid document. So they're not a set and forget thing. You have to analyze your data. Are you coming up for them? Are you being found because you are using these particular hashtags? Yes, great. No, well, we need to change them. Don't use the same ones over and over with no result and then expect a different result, because hashtags are a liquid document. You need to be doing your research and you need to be changing these things up often. And look, I would be doing some fairly in-depth hashtag research at least every 2 or 3 months. And really going to check to see, are you coming up for these things? Do your research, click them, see if your post is in the feeds for the hashtags that you've been using. It's not rocket science, but it is a lot of work. I get that. And that's why every 2 to 3 months we need to check in with them, because these are our way of being discovered and have discoverable content for our potential clients at the end of the day. So the next big question then is, what hashtags do I use? And I'm going to give you my 3-part hashtag strategy here. And we're definitely concentrating on Instagram because that's where the volume of you will be using the volume that this is where you will be most likely to be confused when it comes to hashtag on Instagram. So we're going to talk about the 3-part strategy that I would recommend you use on Instagram. So most people will go straight for the obvious and often the biggest ones when it comes to hashtags. So even if you don't realize they are big because you've never really clicked on them to see, but because you didn't do your research first, people just go and they start hashtagging. So they might, hashtag white bowl, hashtag, non-breakable glasses, hashtags Melbourne clothing or something like that. So they just go bullet a gate and don't really sit down and do their research. So that is what we need to do. We need to start by doing some research. And my 3-part strategy looks a little bit like breaking 30 into thirds. So basically, what's that? 10, 10, and 10, breaking it into thirds. So if you're using 10, do the same. If you're using 15, do the same. Break them into thirds so that you haven't just got all big ones or you haven't just got all small ones. You are actually being a tiny bit strategic in the hashtags that you're using. So let's break that down. The first third, should be niche to super niche hashtags, and they should possibly have under 10,000 posts against them. Some of the ones that you will use will maybe have 200 or 300 or less than 100 posts against them if you're just starting out, and that's okay in this first third. This is what we need to do. It might be a bit harder if you have a location hashtag like in a West Sydney or something like that might have over 10,000 people in it. But, this is what we need to look at. I'm not quite sure how many people that hashtag has. I didn't look. I just said it. Sorry. I probably should have done some research beforehand. But, this first third is niche to super niche. And, it talks about your business, your maybe a little bit about your branding, also has locations in it as well. So you need to look, quite niche in this first third, under 10,000 posts against it. So like I said, your name, your business name, your location, maybe your slogan, anything that's sort of about you and about your product or service that you're doing. But think niche. Why niche? Because there are hashtags are the best chance of you being found, the best chance of traction, because they are the smaller hashtags. So this is why we need to make sure we have smaller hashtags in our strategy as well. They're less noisy, they're less competitive, and they're more likely to be seen by your potential buyer. The second third is hashtags between 10,000 and 300,000. So a fair to good chance of being discovered. The third, of course, is 300,000 plus, up to the millions. Not much of a chance of coming up for these or being discovered under these highly competitive and noisy hashtags. But hey, happy days if you are, right? If you can come up for a hashtag in the millions and get put in front of somebody's eyeballs when you've used a huge hashtags like maybe social media, then yeah, that's impressive. That's good. So you can see that just by using massive hashtags, your chances of being discovered in the noisy and crowded marketplace of that particular hashtag are so small, and therefore you're really wasting energy when it comes to shooting for big stars. So this is why we need to break it into thirds to make sure we have a range of hashtags, a range of sized hashtags in our strategy. Now, all this theory needs to be tailored to your audience and your business and your goals. Clearly, you know I'm all about knowing your audience, knowing where you're going, and knowing where you're coming from. You've got to make sure you have these things strategically overlaying anything you do as far as a hashtag strategy goes. For instance, if your books are full and you can't take on any more clients, but you just want to nurture your audience without selling them anything, your strategy is going to look different to this. Or if your business is very local, like you only sell to people in your local town or your local area and don't sell online or can't sell online, then again, your strategy would look very different to this because you would have a much more local focus and would tailor this, and you would tailor your hashtag and your hashtag strategy to suit your business. So all this is general advice. You know that. I don't need to tell you like that over and over again. I know. And you need to get specific advice for your business. You can reach out and we can book a chat together and we can have a look, what we can do together or what your strategy could look like. But I often find that first up, just by talking about numbers against hashtags, why that matters and the purpose of them makes it click for people. People have aha moments just by thinking about their socials and thinking about, well, I've never really thought about hashtags and, what they're used for or how I could use them more purposely for my business. So just thinking about things a little bit differently, like I'm talking about here, hopefully has rung some bells for you. And I really hope that it's helped you and given you some insights on what hashtags are, how to use them, and why you should be using them a little bit more strategically. So really, just to close out, remember to change them up where appropriate, especially Instagram. Do your research, watch your own insights, and make sure that your marketing efforts are working to the best they can be for you. Literally click your insights in Instagram and look how often are you coming up for hashtags? It tells you in the insights there. And secondly, maybe you need to do a competitor analysis. You need to have a look at what hashtags your competitors are using, and also, are they successful in using them? Maybe that's something that you can do. You can learn so much from a competitor analysis. It's such a great idea to spend some time doing a competitor analysis. And this is just a tiny element of what that can look like. And thirdly, follow the ones that are appropriate. Keep them in your feed. Follow the hashtags that you want to come up for the most. Start to see the patterns and the trends as they are actually happening in front of you. And of course, lastly, if you're selling a brand that's not yours. So probably in the more commerce side of businesses, such as, you might be selling Maxwell Williams products, research what hashtags they're using. Often your suppliers have much bigger marketing and research budgets than you do, and possibly they're using hashtags that are engaging their shoppers already because they've done their research. So you could piggyback on some of that success as well by having a look at what hashtags they're actually using. And again, you would have to do a competitor analysis. Are they actually using them successfully? But that can be a really good way of expanding your hashtags to get in front of an audience who is already engaged with that hashtag, with that product that you're reselling for somebody else. So, my amazing listener, I hope that this has unmuddied the water just a little bit around hashtags for you, and perhaps given you some tips on how to make your marketing efforts work a little bit better for you, especially on Instagram. I'd love for you to let me know in the Like-Minded Business Owners group your insights and your questions around hashtags. We can certainly carry on this conversation in there. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you might have over there. If you're not a member of Like-Minded Business Owners, then head to Facebook and search Like-Minded Business Owners and come and join the fun in our Facebook group. Or of course, if you want to book a discovery call with me and let's chat about your strategy, whether that be a hashtag strategy or a marketing strategy or a business strategy, I'm more than happy just to have a general chat with you to start with to see if that's something we could work together with. So to book that call, go to bit.ly/discover with Jen, and Jen has 2 N's, or just go to my website at socialmediamarketing.com.au and you will see book a call there on the homepage as well. So my fabulous listener, that's it for episode 147. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and maybe share this episode with another superstar business owner who would really like some insights into hashtags as well. If you've got time for a rating and a review, that would mean so much to me. Putting out free content every week does take energy and effort, and so I love to read the little comments and see the little star ratings that come up to let me know that you're actually enjoying my podcast. Massive love coming your way if you spend the 30 seconds out of your life to leave me a rating and a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. Otherwise, I'll see you next week for episode 148. But in the meantime, are we being social on social? I would love to make sure that we are hanging out on social media. You'll find me at Instagram at JenDonovan_, Facebook, come and join the Like-Minded Business Owners, or come over to LinkedIn. I do like LinkedIn quite a lot. I hang out over there. So I'm just at Jen Donovan over there. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.